a Thursday morning right here in the center of unity, Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. I'm excited to be here, and I am excited also knowing full well that you are on the other side, and together we make a winning team all the time. And this morning we will be looking at headlines from about 5 papers, and I have a guest with me who will be analyzing the issues. But first of all, as usual on this program, we will be looking at the weather predictions. What's the weather going to look like today? That's what we'll be looking at, and we'll start with Abuja. Like, you know, they say charity begins at home. In Abuja, it's expected that averagely the temperature will be 24 degrees Celsius, and it will be mostly cloudy, and it might rise up to 33 degrees Celsius, might also come down a little, might just remain 24 degrees Celsius. That's the lowest point expected. Even though it's expected to be mostly cloudy, it might be partly cloudy conditions from around 9 to 6 p.m. with mostly sunny conditions expected from 6 p.m. That's for, oh, sorry. That's I mixed that with Enugu. It's generally about the same thing. Abuja 24 degrees Celsius, cloudy generally, might rise up to 34 degrees Celsius, and then might remain at 24 degrees Celsius all the same. And then cloudy conditions will continue all day. Wind gusts are up to 15 kilometers per hour. That's Abuja. And then we go to Kano. That's right up north. It's expected on a general level to be 25 degrees Celsius and mostly cloudy, while it's expected that it might go low a little bit, just by 1 degree difference to 24 degrees Celsius, and the height, the ceiling, is expected to be 39 degrees Celsius, and it's expected that it will be, even though mostly cloudy all through, but partly cloudy conditions are expected between 8 and 9, that is earlier, just before now, with mostly sunny conditions expected at 9 a.m. And from Kano, we go to Enugu. Enugu is 24 degrees Celsius, like Abuja, on a general level, average level. It's expected to be mostly cloudy, and it might rise as high as 33 degrees Celsius, and we just maintain the 24 degrees Celsius as the lowest point, whilst partly cloudy conditions are expected from 9 to 6 p.m. with mostly sunny conditions expected at 6 p.m. In Kaduna, that's north again, it's expected that they will have the same temperature averagely with Abuja and Enugu at 24 degrees Celsius, whilst it might rise as high as 36 degrees Celsius, and the lowest condition might just be 23 degrees Celsius. Cloudy conditions will continue all day, and wind gusts are up to 25 kilometers per hour. In the south of Nigeria, Port Harcourt, the oil-rich city, the oil-rich state, it's expected that you would have 25 degrees Celsius and expected to be cloudy. And from 25 degrees Celsius, the peak might be 33 degrees Celsius, whilst the floor might be 25 degrees Celsius, just like the average expectation. Partly cloudy conditions from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. with thunderstorm expected at 3 p.m. And then finally we take Lagos, the commercial nerve center of the Federation. Some people call it the economic or commercial capital of Nigeria. And so today they tend to be having the highest temperature at 28 degrees Celsius, and it's expected that it will be cloudy for most part of the day. The peak is expected to be 32 degrees Celsius, whilst the lowest point might just come to 27 degrees Celsius, just 1 degree short of the average. And partly cloudy conditions are expected around 1 p.m. That does it for weather conditions, weather predictions this morning. I hope that puts you in a position to prepare, to dress up for your itinerary and to map out your itinerary considering what has been predicted. I mean, if there are going to be thunderstorms sometime and you want to avoid it, you have the information with you. I hope that this information is quite useful as a guide for your day. Have a great day, even as we take a breather. And when we get back, we'll be looking at the newspaper headlines, even as I bring in my guest. That will be after the breather. Welcome back. Of course, my name is Dayo Omogun, just in case somebody's wondering what's the name of this presenter. But I do know that you know my name, most of you. And we will be starting the newspaper headlines with The Punch. And I do have this major headline from The Punch this morning saying 800 naira per litre petrol in sight as oil prices fall. 800 naira per litre petrol in sight as oil prices fall. That must be some very good news around Nigeria. And everybody probably is praying that this comes to pass. Now, you have a rider there. PMS drops again as Dangote cuts ex-depot rate to 835 naira per litre, as crude now $65 per barrel from 875 per barrel. And then below that you have picture story, and then you have under the picture story, emergency rule, Rivers women protest again, reps panel summons Ibas. Under that strip you have 3 pieces. The first one says 2027 coalition to unseat Tinubu gaining ground, says Atiku. The middle piece says hundreds of Boko Haram suspects arrested in Lagos, and that's by CJTF. And then you have Nigeria cuts power supply to Niger Republic. That's the last piece under the at the bottom piece, the bottom pieces of the Punch. On top of the masthead of the Punch, you have EFCC SEC move to dismantle Ponzi schemes. And then you have another piece that says Tinubu's France retreat sparks backlash amid rising insecurity. And then you have another piece there that says plateau killings. Police arrest key suspects as governor bans night grazing. And just right by the masthead, you have Northern governors in joint push against resurgent attacks. And that does it for the Punch. We'll go to the Daily Trust. Now, Daily Trust has major headline as federal government makes peace move to Niger Republic. Federal government makes peace move to Niger Republic. A writer there says Tuga meets with country's delegation in Niamey. Tuga meets with country's delegation in Niamey. Tuga, by the way, is the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And on top of that, you have 3 pieces right under the masthead of the Daily Trust. The first one says CPC Group affirms loyalty to APC Tinubu amid defection speculations. The middle piece there says filling stations yet to adjust as Dangote reduces petrol price again. And you have EFCC launches manhunt for CBEX promoters, vows to recover investors' money. And then you have still there, you have under the there's a picture story under that major headline, and under the picture story you have a strip that says villagers flee as gunmen attack Benue communities again. Villagers flee as gunmen attack Benue communities again. And then you have 3 little pieces under that strip. The first one says Boko Haram kills 6 in attacks on Adamawa communities. And then you have 2027 will ride any vehicle that guarantees good governance. That's Atiku speaking. 2027 will ride any vehicle that guarantees good governance. That's Atiku. And then you have 36 cows killed, 42 poisoned in Plateau as governor bans night grazing. We go to The Guardian from the Daily Trust. And so from The Guardian, you have national head count, insecurity, economic concerns trail Tinubu's push for fresh census. I'll take that again. National head count, insecurity, economic concerns trail Tinubu's push for fresh census. And then on top of that, you have suspend France trip to address insecurity, Obi tells Tinubu. And then you also have federal government, World Bank in fresh $17 billion poverty reduction deal. And another piece there says Dangote crashes petrol prices by 30 naira per liter and refines 3.5 billion liters in 7 months. And then you have some graphic work there, and then you have under that you have fresh killings in Benue community claim 10. You also have REA, that is Rural Electrification Agency, and Lagos to replace over 4 million generators with rooftop solar. And then you have Lukman alleges PDP governors aiding Tinubu as Atiku intensifies coalition agenda. You also have reps summon sole administrator as Rivers women demand end to emergency rule. Also, federal government launches plan approves 5 billion to curb flood disasters. Finally, you have this trip. Just before that, you have Abudu. That's Mo Abudu makes Times 100 most influential people in the world. Mo Abudu makes Times 100 most influential people in the world. And then you have a strip right at the bottom of the paper. It says, "Don't lose faith in democracy," INEC chairman tells African youths. And we go to the Tribune from The Guardian. And so, from the Tribune, the major headline here says, "Crack in Buhari's CPC." Crack in Buhari's CPC. One rider says, Al-Makura, Masari, Musa, 20 others denounce defection, pledge loyalty to Tinubu. Another one says, demand open administration from Ganduje. And also you have Atiku to PDP governors, coalition train has left the station. And then you have a picture story, and by the side of the picture story you have 4 pieces. The first one says Dangote refinery slashes petrol price to 835 naira per liter. And then you have Tribune reporter wins maritime award. And also you have reps invite Rivers administrator to appear today. Fubara has not reached out to me to be forgiven, Wike replies to Mpolo. And then under the picture story, you have Mutuan bans night grazing, transportation of cattle by vehicles. And then under that, you have a rider that says terrorists behind Plateau attack are connected to global networks. That's an ex-diplomat speaking there. And somebody else says, another rider says killings in Plateau unacceptable. That's by Northern Elders. And then the Nigerian Governors Forum calls for peace. Now, on top of the masthead of the Tribune, you have 3 pieces also. The first one says 15 million Nigerians at high risk of floods in 2025, according to Shetima. And there's a rider to that. It says, Oyo government approves 590 for dredging of 11 flood-prone areas in 33 LGAs. And then you have UK Supreme Court rules woman means biological female. And a writer that says brings clarity to long-term legal ambiguity. And then you have the last piece there on top of the masthead. It says Atiku Obi blast Tinubu over France stay amid killings in Nigeria. We go to the leadership from there. Now the leadership runs with ahead of 2027, wrangling within PDP unsettles Atiku supporters. Ahead of 2027, wrangling within PDP unsettles Atiku supporters. And there are about 3 riders to that story, to that headline. It says, I will ride on any available platform. That's the ex-VP Atiku. Another rider says, PDP governors playing Tinubu spoiler game, according to the coalition people. And then CPC bloc declares support for president. Now, there's a picture story under that, and by the picture story, you have 4 pieces. And the first one says, terrorists kill 7 in fresh Adamawa attack. And then you have Plateau governor bans night grazing. You also have Dangote cuts petrol price to 835 naira per litre. And also Kaduna IDPs cry out over hardship. Now, on top of the major headline, there's this strip that says killings. FG restates commitment to ending security. FG restates commitment to ending insecurity. And then you have on top of that, tariff war. Nigeria, others may face budget constraints, according to the World Bank. And on top of the leadership masthead, you have Tinubu gives census panel 3 weeks to submit report. Reps invite Ibas over state of affairs in Rivers. That's it for the headlines. And at this point, let me introduce my guest. His name is Seun Ibukun Oni. He is the editor-in-chief of Daily Courier newspaper. You're welcome.
Mr. Dyer, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me on the show this morning.
Yeah, you're welcome. I do hope that we have a great time together. Dominating the headlines this morning, a few stories, a few headlines, like the one that has to do with the 800 naira per litre that is being expected because of what Dangote is doing and because of the fall in oil prices. And I do believe that you will want to look at that. Which ones really interest you?
A couple of them.
Yeah.
First, due to the vagaries in the global oil market, the past 2 weeks has been very interesting. The price of oil had actually dropped from a high of $75 per barrel to, as of yesterday, is actually trading below $65 per barrel.
Oh.
A few days ago, it traded for as low as $62 per barrel. And major experts in the petroleum sector had actually said we are supposed to see the effect of that drop in the global oil price in our domestic price as well.
Right.
But what we notice is that over the years, there is this, I call it abnormal economic theory that operates in our country. In spite of the global vagaries and changes and dynamics, when prices go up in the country, you rarely see it come down. But Dangote Refinery had been in the forefront of ensuring that there is always a more like a flux.
Yes.
When there is a rise, it goes up,
yeah.
And when there is a drop, it quickly adjusts it.
Yeah.
And so you see people doing catch up. And our dear NNPCL, we are hoping in the next few days, we also also work on its pricing template to ensure that. But the fact remains that as we speak this morning, sellers of petroleum products across the country had actually not adjusted their meters. But in the coming days, we will expect that will happen when they begin to load fresh supplies from the refinery. That's interesting because of its economic ramification on Nigerians. Because the moment there is a change in the price of oil, it affects virtually everyone in the country. The second aspect that is quite interesting, of course, is the political permutation rocking the two dominant political parties. The PDP on one side, the APC on the other side. Why the PDP is doing catch-up to ensure that it brings its house in order. The APC on the other side is fighting a resurging coalition force. Usually we call them the third force, but maybe we'll be looking at that much later, how far this coalition can go in the coming days. Bear in mind that our election is just about 2 years from now. The general election is about 2 years from now, and it still leaves much to be desired, because historically we have seen that time is of essence in rallying coalition as these together. So we really we look at that, how far they can really go. But something very pressing also is the insecurity issue that is degenerating practically on a daily basis. I think a few days ago, we had the incidences across Plateau, Benue, and it was headlined across the nation. Few days after, we had again another upscale of that attack, and we thought the security architecture, we quickly nip that in the bud to ensure that we don't see a fallback to the pre-2023 era when it was practically a daily occurrence across that part of the country. But again, yesterday, the same Plateau that is now the epicenter of the crisis witnessed another unfortunate assault on innocent people in their homes, and now is spreading to part of Benue, and sadly Adamawa has also been visited by the same harrowing experience. And so we have a whole lot.
Okay, now from the first one you took, and some of your opening remarks there, you did say that when prices come down on the global level, in times past, it never used to really quite reflect when prices come down. But when it goes up, quickly, most of the time, it's adjusted to follow the pattern. Now, with the Dangote thing, what do you think should be done? Because you see, our reality is that a lot of times when transport costs, for example, go up, and even when fuel prices come down, they are hardly reflected in the transport costs. Is it not time for a body to begin to enforce that kind of compliance?
That's one thinking that I want to believe many economists and policy advocates that actually try to push. But you must factor the truth that Nigeria, as we are today, we are a mixed economy. And in a mixed economy, things like fuel consumption, as it were, is not what you expect the government to keep on tampering and issuing press statements on an ongoing basis. What happens is that when you do that, you distort to a large extent. Like I was saying earlier, Dangote announced this yesterday. Some of these folks, while he was making that announcement, were just transiting from his refinery to their fuel station. They loaded at the previous pricing.
So until they
exhaust what they have in their fuel depot, it will be a bit difficult. It really does not make any market sense to tell somebody who loaded at 865 to sell at 835. That would be a huge loss. That's that on one side.
And these things are in a constant state of flux.
That
maybe before he finishes that
price,
stock, maybe the price goes up again. So
yes, it's a flow.
Yeah.
Right. It's not static.
It's not.
If it were to be a static thing, for instance, where some of us, and I saw Lagos House of Assembly working on that. For instance, rent. You can do that with rent.
With rent.
You can just say, when you have these sizes of houses around this part of the country, this should be XYZ amount that you charge. You can regulate.
You can give a range.
A range that people can charge, but you can't do that to what is a flow. Like I did say, as of 3 days ago, the price of fuel in the international market was actually hovering between $62, $63 a barrel. As of this morning, I learned it's around 65, 66, depending on the shade of crude that you are looking at. And that is our reality. But we must also not forget that the moment there is a change in the price of petrol especially, it affects virtually everything in everything. It affects everything. And I still want to believe that the president was actually ill-advised when he made that statement, subsidy is gone on May 29th. Many have said we should not go back to it again. But that's actually the genesis of the major distortion in the economy we saw from 2023. So that's why government has to be a bit careful, just issuing policy statements when it comes to the price of oil. Because the moment you make that statement, it distorts everything, and it takes a while before that distortion again get to that equilibrium where everything starts going.
Where there's some level of stability.
A level of stability. The labor union also needs to show that they are very patriotic people. You know, it's very easy to push and shove all the blames on the neck of government.
All right.
There was a day I was on a panel.
Let me hold you there. Please don't lose the train of your thoughts as we go on a quick break, and then we'll be right back, and then you can continue. welcome back. You're still onto the press, and it's coming to you live from the Abuja studio of KAFTAN TV, King Adebayo Film and Theatre Arts Network Television. And my name is Dayo Omogun. And then it was my guest who was analyzing the issue of the price flux, the petroleum price flux. And I think we just go back to him. His name is Sheung Ibukoni. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I was trying to say that the labor houses, the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress need to show a measure of patriotism. It's not every time that would be shoving everything on the throat of the government. The transport associations are affiliates of this union.
Yes.
Whether you want to talk about the Nigerian Union of Road Transport Workers or the people you call the Road Transport Employee Association of Nigeria, and you have the Tricycle People, Transport Owners Association of Nigeria, TOAN, and a number of them. They must be patriotic, because when the prices of fuel goes up, within hours, you see them quickly increase the prices of transport. But when these prices now begin to drop, the way we have seen it in a couple of months now, you hardly see them reversing.
That's a huge,
and I think that's a huge concern.
Yeah.
There was a period when the price of fuel was close to 1,000 naira.
Even more.
And suddenly, we now have these prices hovering just a little above 800 naira, but we really did not see that drop in transportation. But it's very easy for them to come, cast aspersion, show their reservations and sometimes resentment against government policies. But this is actually something between within their own control, and they must find a way of ensuring that these up and down in the prices of fuel also reflect in the prices of transportation.
Wow. Well, whether or not whether we make this, whether we talk about this or not, clearly on the minds of Nigerians right now, the prayer must be that Dangote continues to have some good times, so that it can reflect in the lives of Nigerians. I mean, 800 will be a far cry from 1,000, 1,200 that happened a few months back. And if we can get 800, who says that we will not get back to around 500? Is that asking for? Am I being too optimistic?
No, you are not being too optimistic. I think the projection immediately after the deregulation of that sector was that eventually we might see the price of oil hovering between 500 and 700. Experts actually had predicted that. So it's actually not really new. I think it actually is happening faster than predicted because of the global vagaries. What you have in the tariff impact on OPEC fuel, and we are seeing that happening faster than predicted.
Oh, great. Okay, so I think we should move a little bit from fuel price now to insecurity, where because of all the happenings in Plateau State, the governor has banned night grazing and even transportation of cattle in vehicles. So do you think that this can put a leash, can slow down, or at least maybe slow down? It may not necessarily stop, but do you think that this is a good move?
Thank you so much for the question, but permit me also to bring a few of the headline insertions in a number of the dailies as well, where the former vice president and Labour Party presidential candidates in the last presidential election, Peter Obi, actually did not mince words with the president's continued stay in France. Despite the failing insecurity situation we are expecting in the country. And for me, it's coming on the heels of the presidency issuing a statement on behalf of the president, suggesting tacitly that the ball is now in the court of the governor.
Exactly, that's a new one
of Plateau State. And for me, I think I beg to disagree. The president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces for a reason. He appoints, even though the National Assembly screens and eventually confirms who becomes the IG, who becomes the service chiefs.
Yes.
But that's it tells you the power, the executive power that the president wields. So to now say that the governor should ensure that
the crisis is.
I think that's begging the question.
All right.
And the president must, as a matter of urgency, cut short. If he plans staying for 2 weeks, I think he needs to be back home to take charge of the security situation in the country. But I also noticed that Plateau, I'm picking Plateau now, and just to add Benue to it, this is a perennial issue.
Yeah.
It's a perennial issue. It's been on for decades. And there seems to be a unanimous agreement that one of the easiest way to halt this insecurity, this persistent insecurity around this belt, is first to ensure that open grazing is stopped. The second one is that if you are stopping open grazing, you must provide alternative for people who are grazing.
Right.
And the alternative for now is that you must provide what is called ranch for these people. Why the governors across the state, whether it's Plateau or Benue, they agree on one side that open grazing should stop. They seem to disagree with giving ranches to these people. And for the sake of the lives that are being lost on now becoming a daily basis, they must have a rethink.
Now let me quickly come in there. Now, is grazing, is cattle rearing, is it a business?
It is a business.
Now, do business owners find a way to get resources and get equipment and get whatsoever they need to run their business?
Now, I would say yes and no.
Okay, good. Because the whole essence, I believe that the thinking in some of those places, in some of those quarters, is you are doing a business. If you rear cattle, then get the feed. And we've seen that these things happen all over the world, where people have their own what do you call it now, ranch and grazing spaces and all that. So I'm trying to see the thinking behind the reluctance to grant land in those places, because you see, how long? Okay, if we do that for this, several other businesses also need help. Are you going to do that as a blanket action? Or, I mean, maybe we need more light, yeah?
All right. I've heard, I think this perspective has always been on the table.
Yes.
When discussion as this is highlighted. But there are two things I clearly usually tell people. The first thing is that how much concession is too much to halt this daily loss of lives?
Well, that will be a subtle way of justifying the killings, because it's like what Femi Adesina said some years back. That's close to what you're saying. Femi Adesina did say, is it not better to lose your land and keep your life? I mean, I'm paraphrasing, not exactly, but that's the point. That's the message he put out. That is it not better to lose your land, give your land away in order to keep your life? No, I do not think it's as simplistic as that. I think that people have a right to. Everybody has some measure of attachment to their lands, especially ancestral lands that they have, where they have farmed, where they have lived on, where they have interacted with for so long. And I think that these are some of the issues causing the problems. Even in Plateau, for example, we have had settler indigenous issues being provoked. I mean, being brought to the fore because of some of these issues. So I think that a deeper look is necessary. But okay, let's hear from you.
I want to bring something that is primary that we often seem to ignore in our conversation, is the fact that pastoralism for the Fulanis, we often miss that narrative. That is actually a way of life. It's historically a way of life. The reason why we're having the complex mix in our discussion now is because of the insecurity dimension that has come to it. You know, several years ago, our parents really do not care. They allowed them to graze because there were no loss of life.
Exactly.
There was no,
so long as your way of life does not affect does not affect the other person's way of life.
Now the question is, why was it that easy then? Why was it easy then that we don't see that? It was because even before now, like my place in Ekiti, Ondo State as is, up till now, you still have places that your parents will tell you, this place used to be cattle roads.
Yes,
we had them then,
right?
But of course, even if you look at the censor issue that was highlighted in a number of the papers, at about 2006, our population as a country was about 140 million.
Yes.
Today we are talking about 230 plus million. So you can imagine, pre-independence, our population was just a handful of millions. So it was easy to have those grazing routes devoted without having any conflict with farmers.
Yes.
But when we started developing, those grazing routes now need to be used for other developmental purposes.
Right.
Now, if we do that, don't you think it's also proper to thinking was how do we now some other ways to cater for them? Historically, we have the history.
Yeah.
I'm from Ekiti State. I know they say, oh, that area used to be a grazing route. And I think it's like that in several other parts of the country. If we remove history from what we are discussing, we'll be left with emotions. And so when I had this conversation on a panel, and the person said, are you a Hausa person? And I started laughing. No,
you don't have to be a Hausa person.
I don't really need to be an Hausa person.
We must look at in order to bring solutions, to make progress and all that.
Make progress.
Exactly. So
one life
as part of making progress, shouldn't we begin to discourage that moving around, constantly being on the road? I mean, like the routes you talked about. If you have a situation where, can't we localize these cattle, and that way they are run as proper businesses, they can be assessed by tax authorities, they get more produce, more milk, the animals are more healthy, even the rearers, the cattle guys are more healthy because they don't have to go through the vagaries of the forest and all that. They don't have to do all that trekking. I mean, shouldn't we begin to look at that picture also?
We are now having a sane conversation, devoid of emotions, right? Because when we start bringing our attachment to our lands, again, we often forget that constitutionally, every stretch of land in the country today belongs to government.
Yeah,
it belongs to the government.
Yes.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
You might put any other name, you know, like in my village, they say, this is a social community land, and you just laugh because in the real sense, it belongs to the government.
Yeah.
Why not convert this crisis into opportunity?
Exactly.
Like you have highlighted.
Exactly what I have said, yes.
And you just need to create that enabling environment. And you must also know that our constitution makes it very clear that creating an enabling environment that is safe for every Nigerian is the primary responsibility of government.
Sure.
And so part of that duty is to ensure that this land that is becoming a curse, we can now flip it and turn it into a blessing. We can have very same conversation. These same people, we will provide XYZ amenities to localize your movement so that you will not be moving around and cause all these crises. In return, you will pay XYZ.
Yeah.
That's the conversation we must have. And we must start having it now, because the more we delay it, the more we'll be seeing these skirmishes and sometimes escalations here and there.
Well, I think that the earlier that those discussions begin, the better. But again, in the interim, before those discussions get afoot and before solutions begin to get materialized, it's important to say that no matter what happens, life is precious. And if we cannot make life, it's very important that the message goes out there as stridently as possible that you should not take life, no matter what it takes. The life of a human being is precious. The life of a human being, as much as possible, should not be taken. I mean, I saw a video a few days back when I think that animals, I mean cattle, were either poisoned or something. I saw them dying on a field, on a farm or something, and I could hear in the background like the owners or the shepherd, the cattle guys, lamenting, weeping loudly, and I felt it. But you see, that's exactly the picture when somebody plants crops and animals go inside there and eat them up. It's that kind of pain. So as much as possible, we must ensure that this is avoided. For example, if you see somebody's farm, you know it as different from a bush. So it should be primary that you navigate, you ensure that your animals don't go into a farm as much as is possible, because it's not only those kind of crops that these animals can eat. They eat what we categorize as weed, some of the things we categorize as weed. So you need to move them to ensure that they do not get into people's property. The pain of loss is huge on both sides, and we must do our very best to prevent these occurrences. At this point, let me invite you to come in. You can call in 0802-993-8365. Let's have your own perspectives, and so that we can have a robust conversation. Quickly, we'll take some other one. I think that okay, let's see the one that interests you the most.
Okay. Before saying that, I just want to bring a personal perspective
to
this conversation we're having.
Good.
Yesterday, last year rather, one of the steps I made in the new year was to go into commercial farming.
All right.
So I got an expanse of land in Kubwa, and I went into. I started with corn, then added sweet potato and beans.
Yes.
It was a bit of a huge expanse of land, and when you some distance from my farm, you have this Fulani settlement, and they have their own farms too.
Right.
The funny thing was that they waited. The plant was fine, and I traveled on a weekend. By the time I came back, they had grazed on my farm.
Do you see the point?
They grazed on the entire farm.
The entire farm?
They grazed on the entire farm. The funny thing was that their own farm was just an eye shot from my farm, and nothing happened to their farm. And so that's where
how did it feel exactly?
That's where I agree with Amnesty International's position that the resurgence of insecurity we are seeing in Plateau, Benue, now Adamawa, is actually a security failure. And our security handlers,
apparatus, yes,
they have to
wake up.
They just have to wake up. This is a security failure. You can't justify this for whatsoever reason at all.
Wow. That must have touched you at your very core. I mean,
I just shut it down. I left the place.
You shut it down?
I have to leave the place because I can't guarantee that it will not happen again. I have to look for land in another place where their movement is minimal or totally non-existent.
Let's take this call. Hello? Oh no, what happened? Well, the line is open, and I don't know what happened to this last caller. Okay, let's take this one now. Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, I'm God's Abani. I'm calling from Ondo State, so local government in particular.
Okay, let's have you.
So I've been following your conversation since And I'm very happy to see that this kind of talk comes up this morning. In fact, it's as if you are touching my main point of life. Because I'm a farmer. And to me, I'm a part of person who has experienced the loss of properties in terms of this cow grazing of a thing. I'm a person who has children in the higher institutions. I have 2 children in the higher institutions. I also have others in other schools. And I'm doing farming for my living. The truth is that what our brother there is saying, I want to agree with him somehow, but in the other hand, because he's saying that if we should get a place for them to settle them, then to me, I want us to take a deep look about this case. Ask yourself, do you think place to grace is the only problem about these things? For me, I'm looking at it from the other side that these people know that they don't have place to grace, but there is a certain thing behind this thing that is not open to me and you. Because those of us who are in the farm area, the rural areas that are farming, there are a lot of places that is free for them where they were grazing before now, that they were not destroying our crops. But it comes a time, those places still remain there, then they can destroy our crops. For me, they finish my farm that is something about 20 acres, they finish your planting and everything. Today, my brother, I hardly get food for my children. So if we are saying let's get a place for them, there are places that they can still graze. But the truth is that, my brother, not that they don't get place to graze, but there is something hidden that you and I did not know. So for me, I want us, our leaders, to take a deep look to what is the real thing that these people need. I'm telling you, not ranches. They are just using that ranches as a flag work for it. But what they need is different. My brother, so for me, this is one thing I want us to take a deep look at. Now, for my brother, was saying that they destroy his farm. It is not somebody that has something that he can see told you. How will
he survive?
So, my brother, this is the issue.
Thank you very much, Gostine. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I feel your pain, but it is well. Yeah, so it's like your story. Yes, you can respond to it.
Respond to what he just said.
Yeah.
I highlighted much earlier what Amnesty International, their submission, that this is a blatant failure of the security architecture in the country. Because a few weeks ago, one of the trending headlines was that ISWAP and Boko Haram actually had plans to plant their cells in Plateau and part of Benue about 2 weeks ago. Like the Yoruba adage, a witch cry
the previous night.
The
child is
dead this morning. Of course, you can connect the dots.
Yes.
All right. So you expect them to swing into action and ensure that if they have actually infiltrated that area, something is done to stop their activities. But this is what we are seeing.
So in spite of the intelligence,
we are still seeing all of this.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, my brother.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, our friend here from Ekiti State.
Good morning, sir.
I'm Comrade Ijale Olufemi from Abakoko, Ondo State.
You're welcome, sir.
What is there is that I spent all my life in Ekiti State as a teacher, mostly in Egbema Ekiti and Ado Ekiti. The problem at hand now, let us be sincere to ourselves, you've said it, is federal issue. The federal government being taken over by the Honorable President Tinubu, he must call all the stakeholders. The stakeholders in the state, majorly the governors, they must make this as an important issue. They must discuss with the herdsmen and they must discuss with the farmers to settle this matter amicably. Nobody will be planting things and being destroyed. They will not have it in mind to do more as a farmer. Let us be sincere to ourselves. This issue must be handled in a federal way. The federal government, the president, must call all the governors to to table. So they must form a round table discussion to iron this issue. That's just what can help us in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, comrade. Thank you. So this is a topic that really excites a whole lot of passion around the country. There's this part where Obi, still talking about Plateau and all that, Obi and Atiku are saying that President Tinubu needs to come back home. I need this answer. And several persons also have a way of also tending towards that. Not just now, but even before now. I remember that I guess it was under Jonathan. Yeah, when was it when the Chibok girls saga, and Jonathan didn't go there immediately or something, and then it was taken. Now, must President Tinubu be in Nigeria to be able to work in an era of technology? Please, let's take this question. This first. Hello.
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 Good morning, good morning, Malcolm.
Yeah, good morning. I wish you can make yourself more audible.
It's okay. It is, to me, the way I see it, it's like the fault is from the federal government.
All right.
Federal government is not making it easy for Nigerians or our own citizens. Federal government has every power to have used its own ability to bring all these things down. These elders, they are not ordinary. So most of them are from outside. And federal government allows them to graze in here. They are causing a lot of these problems. Some of them from Nigeria is like that is still an ED program. And that ED program, God will build one day. My brother, you see, there are some places, unlike before, when I was a bit young, where you find the cows will not go there. And where they are grazing and you extend your farm to the other side, they will cheat. But this time around, you can see a flying man leading the children, the child of 3-4 years old, to take cattle to take cows to the field. How would you expect good from them? And if you can recall, during Buhari time, most of them were saying that the government, they are all down, and that is where the parents started and they are getting. Most of them on the top there is like they are getting from what planets are doing. What planets are doing. So if, like, if you propose now, it's okay, whoever that wants to raise them, or whoever that wants to do whatever genetic animals, you buy a land and take care of their land where they are living. Look at the Sokoto, they have been releasing it all the time in trust. You see how this part animals, they have been caring for it at home. Look at the chicken that we are doing, local chicken and agric this thing. No, nobody is querying it. The people they are out to destroy Nigeria within the context that the leaders are also backing. And people from outside that are coming to destroy the land, and the most top government, they are doing nothing. Even if you catch a flag and take it to court or police station, in few hours they will listen because they have the communications are good.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll take a break now, and when we get back, we'll get my guests to weigh in from that point. right, you're welcome back. We're still on The Press, and it's coming to you from KAFTAN Television. And just before that break, I was asking my guest, do you think that the president, in a time in a generation where technology is so, it's everywhere, and you can work from anywhere, must the president be in for the nation to feel that he is working? But I guess he will still have to hold on as I take this call. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I'm calling from Aquadom.
And your name is?
And my name is Onifaka.
All right, go on, please.
This is a very, very interesting and naughty issue. Because if you look at what is going on in Nigeria right now concerning these federal farmers clashes, it beats everybody wholly. Because when you look at Nigeria, we are just killing ourselves over something we don't even gain from. The first 40 countries that produce beef, Nigeria is not even among. And these countries are populated. They can deal with even their development. The USA, Brazil, China, India, these people have more populations than us, and they are more ethnically, they have this ethnic diversity.
Yeah.
So when it comes to development and population, they are even way ahead of us in development. And when it comes to population as well, they have a much more higher population. So I don't see any reason why Nigeria cannot even take that example. Like your earlier discussions, they were talking about localizing these people and giving them ranches, grazing rights and things like that. Now, that is very, very beautiful. It's a laudable thing, but ever since I think the Minister of Livestock, because of this very issue, the president had to, create a specialized ministry to take care of this. And I think Ministry of Livestock
Development,
something like that. They took it out of the Ministry of Agriculture.
Yes.
Just to address this issue. Now, whatever is going on now, we are only doing this thing on paper. I have not seen this crisis-ridden state and the presidency or the supervisory ministry actually take any steps towards saying, okay, if there are so much killings in Benue, Plateau, and other hotspots, why don't we start something? Why don't we allocate land and see what this thing is going to bring about? Because it is something that we should be actually crying in this country. We don't produce this at all. We only use it for domestic or local consumption. And it is bringing about all these deaths. It is, the destruction of life and property, which is not, it is not taking it is even giving us a bad name because it shows we cannot manage our resources well.
Ndifreke, thank you very much.
With the issue we have, we cannot even, make a headway. When you look at the monetary aspect, what value does this thing bring to the country? Nothing. It just brings death, destruction. And the most important thing, it highlights the competence of even the people that are supposed to be saddled with the responsibility of making it possible that, look, this very thing here, we don't sell it, we don't do anything, we eat it. So why don't you look for a way? Okay, even in poultry farming or fish farming and things like that, when development takes place, you still create a little place.
Ndifreke, we must let you go now. We must let you go now because of time and because we need to accommodate as many as possible. So I was asking, we've had this issue over time. Do you subscribe to the idea that the president at any point in time must be in the country for certain things to be achieved? Is it correct?
That's a good question, but also to let you know that the absence of the president from the country does not fall within the ambit of the constitutionally allowed holidaying that will require the president to transfer power legally to his vice president.
Good.
There is that window,
yes,
that allows the president to cede power to his vice president,
yes,
writing, communicating officially to the National Assembly.
Yes.
And of course, it can be anywhere in the world. Someone is in charge, giving the information that needed to be given. But in this instance, it is more like an informal exit from office, all right, staying in France. So when we are now bringing the idea of he can administer from anywhere because it's 24th century, that means we are also missing the fact that there is that empathic response to issues that involve loss of life as this. You saw one of the headlines. Within 2 weeks, we have lost 144 lives.
And yet,
in certain nations, that would be a national emergency. Flags should be flying at half-mast in certain nations. But you know, these things are so often in Nigeria that it really does not scratch anything on our body. How many died today? 52. So may God bless their soul. And even before you know it, because in some part of the country they practice Islamic religion, where you don't allow the corpse to stay so long. In fact, before it gets into the news, they bury them. So it just, we really don't get that feel again that lives have been lost.
We've become deadened over time.
We are deadened to it. It's an empathic thing. It's not a legal thing. It's not a 24th century thing. You have 144 people within 2 weeks. No, it should be on the ground. Sympathize, empathize with the state and the immediate constituencies involved. It's not about, you can call from anywhere, but we can't see your empathy in your call. It has to be a physical thing.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, you're welcome to KAFTAN TV. If you could just do us this favor of cutting down the volume of your TV set and moving away from it, it will do us all a good, much good.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. What's your name?
My name is Oluwafemi Peter.
Oluwafemi Peter. So you're calling from where?
From Lagos.
Okay, Lagos. Hi, Sanwo-Olu today.
It's fine.
Good,
So
good.
Really pretty fine.
Okay, good. So let's hear you now.
I want to contribute concerning the Plateau and Benue state crisis.
Yes, please.
The reason why, when the former President Buhari said he wanted each state to have a place for all these cows, and when the governor refuses, is because the problem that is happening in Plateau State, the history have it that these people that are fighting, killing people in Benue State, they gave them the land in 1950. No, and when they gave them the land, they are now fighting the owner of the land. So what do we do to stop this crisis? Even in Northern land, that they are the world exports of milk in the whole world. They have a garden where they keep their cows, and they still maintain. People still go to farm. People are still going to their different farm without any problem. So what will happen is that let Nigeria, let the leaders come together and solve this problem once and for all. That's my take.
Thank you so much, Oluwafemi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I see your point that working from anywhere does not the empathy element is lost.
It's lost, sir. It is. There is no way that can. And you also see that when you are in front, as the CNC, and they can see from your, it's just a communication issue.
Yes.
1,000 letter will not bring that authoritative bent to your communication. Like when you are in front, maybe travel to Plateau where this thing actually happened, and you are speaking to the army general who is in charge of that area, that this thing must stop. It's different from writing a letter right?
Or
Issuing a press
release.
statement through your spokesperson. The president says this thing has to stop. They are not the same. And that's exactly what we are seeing. In fact, last week I saw the NSA. I saw him in Benue. I saw him in Plateau. He was on the Plateau for some troubleshooting. But we still don't see the difference because it's not the CNC. They are not the same thing.
So the CNC must take its place as
CNC.
All right. Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. You are on to SMB from Lagos.
All right.
Sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate Captain TV for giving us this ample opportunity and also bringing in resource personnel to come in regarding the nation issues. Thank you very much once again, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My worry is, I don't know, honestly speaking, but let me put it this way. Every day politics instead of governance. Now, the issue of Plateau State. You know, there is this issue of settlers and then indigenous.
Yes.
It creates a lot of problems. I belong to Plateau State. Then I was after my primary 3. I went to St. Mark. After my primary 3 was Islamia Primary School at Bauchi Road.
Okay.
Islamia Primary School contains Udensi, Aban, Azi, Monday, and so on and so forth. That time, things were okay. So, when I was about to go to my primary 4, you know where I go? I went to St. Michael RCM Primary School. That is Roman Catholic Mission Primary School. Things were okay. There is no any differences, no any indigenous or secular issue or something of that nature. Now, look at our democratic system of government. Gives an elected official 2-time tenure, for instance. Be it executive, either president or governor. There is campaign before election. After campaign is election. After election, the expectation is governance. But in our case, in our situation, reverse is the case. You know, automatically, if you look at the system, it shows that we are into politics after politics, politics after election, and politics on politics.
Politics all the way.
So how long shall we remain in this present predicament? $1 million question that Nigerians need an answer. Are we ready? Are we ready to rehabilitate our nation? Who are the game changers? Are the game changers patriotic? If not, killing every day, 100 people being killed in a week, and we keep silent, we think everything is okay. We're expecting the international community to come and reduce our nation for us. When we have the executive, we have the judiciary, we have the legislative, we have 3 tiers of government, we have the state, we have the central government, we have the local government. The constitution is there, everything is working.
All right, SMD, we will need to let you.
There is need for us to reform our judicial system. There is need for us to reform our governance. There is need for us to reform our security system.
All right.
We have all the national security structure. We have the NIA, we have the DIA, we have the DSS, we have the police force, we have the air force, we have the navy, we have.
Well, SMD, I believe that your message has been well communicated, and we're getting very close to the end of the show. In about 10 minutes, it will all be over. So you can still make your call in while we take one more item from the headline. Yes, which would it be?
Niger Republic.
Niger Republic
is one issue that has dragged on for long, but we have two very funny, looks conflicting, but really not conflicting.
Exactly,
it's just the angle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
Because
the angle. David Trust says
Yes.
we are troubleshooting to ensure we repair our relationship.
And
with
one
the
of them one says,
Punch
we
now
have cut
says
them
they cut
their power.
in fact, I was forced to go and read the details. It's always in the details. What happens is that after the feud escalated by Nigeria, of course, exiting from ECOWAS, Nigeria also being the big brother in the sub-region, cut power totally to Niger. And even though there were a measure of reconciliatory effort, Nigeria still has not given back, restore the peak that we usually give to them.
Right.
Rather, gradually we are reducing what we used to give to them. So over the past few months, Nigeria has actually reduced it from 80 megawatt. We now give them about 46 megawatt of electricity. The impact on their headquarters, Niamey, is that it has practically almost paralyzed economic activities. And it's so funny that in our international diplomacy, especially in the sub-region, we've really not leveraged on this very huge leverage that we have. We have that leverage. You can imagine a nation, the population is just one or two states in Nigeria, and their core economic, the nerve center of the economy, which is power, is dependent on us. And it's surprising when they threaten us sometimes. You are wondering that you just wish a Trump is president of Nigeria for 24 hours, right? That's just been comical. But our Minister of Foreign Affairs was there to speak some sense into their leadership. You know, it's just typical, especially those of us who are students of history. It's typical for people in khaki to just assume that they can eat their cake and have it. It's just typical of it. I think it's part of their training. That you can do anything and damn the consequence get away with it. Because you can see across from Niger Republic to Mali to Burkina Faso, you just see them flexing their muzzle, and you really don't see anything in the domestic scene that shows that they can sustain that level. This for me is a call to Niger to have a rethink in the interest of its citizens, to ensure that because the worsening insecurity, some experts also have also traced it to the breakdown in our joint patrol along our shared border. Because most of these ISWAP, Boko Haram remnants are actually domiciled in some of these countries. So when they find their ways unhindered across these very wide borders, they come in, they inflict dangers here. When our army runs after them, they cross into the other side, and it's really not good for the both sides. So for the security of our citizens here, for the security of their own citizens, they must ensure that they come and ensure that we have some semblance of brotherhood, and we've had these ties. Of course, you are aware that Niger, for instance, had adopted Hausa language as the official language of the country. That tells you the historical ties we have together.
Well, the thing is, I think that Nigeria is waking up to say, look, we can't continue to, you can't be insulting us and while we are fending for you. I think it's just human. This is human response. Exactly. I mean, it's just natural that if I don't matter to you, I cannot continue to be the one who also supports you to continue the intransigence, to continue in the. So I think that's the point Nigeria is trying to make quietly there. But I do hope that the peace moves also bear fruit, and that very soon we'll be jolly good brothers once again. I think that's also there's no need for necessary escalation of ill feelings and all that. Like that singer says, let there be peace in our homes, let there be peace in our nation, let there be peace in our hearts and all that. So I guess the message will be going out and is reaching the appropriate quarters as we speak. Now, what do you make of the statement by ex-vice president saying he's ready to board any vehicle that is available, any vehicle that will guarantee, what was that? That will guarantee good governance?
It's true to the character of Waziri of Adamawa, the ex-vice president. Is just, if you trace his history, he has this penchant of jumping on any available ship. We saw him, his movement from his SDP days, the PDP to AD. You know, he used the ACN platform at some point, came to jointly form, went back to PDP, jumped ship from PDP back to APC, from APC back to PDP. And so when I read that yesterday, I started laughing because the moment
that has cast him as an unfaithful, disloyal party man.
Of course, the books are clear about that.
The
records are there. So we really don't need to tie him using that again. But my fear for him is that I've not seen any political actor, any serious-minded political actor in Nigeria who dares the governor block in any of the political party and succeed. And I was trying to read to be sure that maybe it's one of the spokespersons who made the statement. But when I saw that it was, he was actually addressing some guests who came on a courtesy visit to his place in Adama, when he said that, I just said, no, this is an overkill. He can actually make that point without daring and damning the governors. They are the most powerful blocks, even though we don't want to say it, but that's the reality. What you get in a political party is tied largely to how much of the governors. You might not be able to have all, but you must be able to have a sizable number of the governors block, whether the progressive governor or the PDP governors on this other side. And we are talking about 10 of them on this side. There used to be 11 until Fubara was suspended. All right. And so when I was sharing with someone, if you say they are working tacitly for Tinubu, Fintiri, is governor in Adamawa State. Yes. Until a few days ago, used to be his protege. So are you saying you don't trust even your own protege? Because it was a collective decision they took in Ibadan on the 14th. Yeah. It was a collective decision. 2 governors were absent, and they were represented by their deputies. Akwa Ibom governor and Delta governor were absent in that meeting, but they were represented by their deputies, and it was the outcome of their meeting. And that has been the position of the PDP over the years, that if you really think you want to bring good governance back to Nigerians, we are the darling, we are the alternative platform, not a third force. I think it's quite unambiguous. But if you now say any available vehicle, any available platform, just because you want to eventually, like
that reeks of desperation.
It's desperation. It's just, that's calling it by its name. It's desperation. And I won't be surprised again. 2027 will come, and it's still going to be the same tale.
Wow. I guess this is where 2027 will come, and the tale may not change for the Waziri. That's the verdict from my guest, and we will leave it here for today. I must say thank you to every one of you, millions of you around the world who have tuned into this program. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being there all the time. And I want to say thank you to my guest. Thank you, Sheung. Thank you so very much
for
coming.
It's such a privilege being here.
Thank you so much.
Great job you are doing on KAFTAN TV.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We do hope that we can have more of you from time to time. All right. And thank you so much, production team. You're wonderful. You're the best. And my name is Dayo Mogun, even as I sign out now. Bye-bye.